Algenol has a proprietary algae. We've now spent $200 million on this, Jim. And it takes carbon dioxide, salt water, and sunlight and converts those into the four most important fuels: ethanol, gasoline, jet fuel, and diesel. And we make those fuels for about $1.30 a gallon. So our intent is to actually market them locally in Florida at below market prices, have them be cost competitive with gasoline. You know, our primary place really is Florida, and so we've been there for 8 years. We do have a significant number of co-workers in Germany. We have a very significant partnership in India, and as we build in Florida, we're building in India. And next year we actually expect to be building out with our partner in Mexico. Well, Reliance Industries already operates the largest refinery in the world, and they're doubling the size of it. So these people truly understand the fuels business. That refinery, though, is also one of the largest point source emitters of CO2. And Mukesh Ambani, Hital Maswani, these are really visionary people who want to make a difference. Well, you know, Algae actually make ethanol, which is our primary product. They actually make that on their own, but not in commercial quantities like we do. And so what we did is spend the last 2.5 years working with the Florida Department of Agriculture and Department of Environmental Protection. And we actually did a study where their staff conducted the study. And at the end of that study, it was proven with third-party laboratory verification that in fact the algae are safe for the environment. They can't become invasive. They don't produce toxins. Yeah, you know, about 4 years ago we abandoned the horizontal system and moved to a very small but clearly defined vertical, completely closed and sealed. It looks like a Ziploc bag. And so this small, closed and sealed, right now it's 50 liters, so it's not big. But they kind of look like hanging file folders, and they're just row after row after row of these little plastic bags with 50 liters of culture, and they make about 8,000 gallons per acre per year. Now compare that to corn ethanol at 400. This is a real step in technology, a big change.
Can you use ordinary seawater, like you just pull it out of the ocean? Is that as easy as that?
Yeah, in our case, we actually have a well that goes down 1,800 feet, but it is like a straw to the ocean. It is pulling ocean salt water out. The thing about our technology, though, of course, when you go through the separations of ethanol, you do run them through a final step of distillation and molecular sieves, and that actually produces fresh water. So when we make about 8,000 gallons per acre per year of fuels, we actually make about 11,000 gallons of fresh water. So we're really one of the only processes that start with salt water and ends up with fresh water as a byproduct. So, you know, Florida really does have a lot of water, but when you're dealing with India and Mexico, California, Arizona, there's a lot of places in the world where fresh water is an important resource, and we won't be a drain on those cities. We'll actually be a contributor.
So you can use waste CO2, like from a CO2 plant utility? What
you're going to see in Florida is we're going to take CO2 from 2 very large power plants, and that CO2 will just be drawn off the existing stacks. One of them actually has a carbon capture unit put on it by the Federal Department of Energy. We're going to capture all that CO2 and feed it to the algae, and that carbon actually becomes part of the ethanol or gasoline or diesel molecule, and that is a really, really important contribution to a greenhouse gas reduction. In our case, Jim, what outside people did the evaluation of, we have an 83% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions compared to gasoline. So when we're taking that power plant CO2 and converting it to those fuels, even when you include the burning of those fuels, it really has a big impact on reducing greenhouse gases.
So you're producing fuel, low cost, you're also producing fresh water using seawater, CO2, and sunlight.
Right.
Nothing else?
No, I think the big difference is going to be we're going to buy buy that CO2 from the utilities. So instead of them having to look at expensive carbon capture technologies, which could be, what, $40, $60, $100 a ton to capture that and bury it underground, instead of doing all of that, they're going to sell us the CO2, so we pay a small amount for it, but that money is actually going to flow to the ratepayers, the electric customers in Florida. Well, that will be tens of millions of dollars a year. So it's actually a benefit to those electric customers. We take the CO2 and convert it into the fuels. That's a big benefit for Algenol.
Petroleum locked in the ground.
Exactly. So
the carbon is sequestered in the oil that's already...
Yeah, that carbon really is sequestered permanently if you don't remove it from the ground. But even if it is, this is really a much more natural process, because you know how you and I operate, right? With plants, you breathe out carbon dioxide, you breathe in oxygen. The opposite for a plant. They breathe in oxygen and out carbon dioxide. I got that backwards, but you know what I mean. This recycling of gases has been going on between plants and animals for billions of years. That's the same as Algenol. You burn the fuels, but then again you take in that carbon dioxide just like a plant did and convert it into those fuels. That natural recycling of gases, that's what's natural. And that's what the algae inside the Algenol process do. A natural process, just like the Earth has operated for billions of years. Easy to find out, of course, algenol.com, ALGENOL.com.